Welcome to my channel. World Scene News. Subscribe to my channel for news updates all around the world. The world of international trade has been shaken to its core, sending shockwaves through boardrooms and government offices alike. A sweeping new directive from Washington has upended the status quo, signaling a dramatic shift in global economic policy. The United States has ordered its key allies to halt critical exports to both China and India, escalating global economic tensions and igniting fierce debate among policymakers. This isn't just another tariff, it's a bold, unprecedented move to reshape supply chains, disrupt established partnerships, and assert American dominance in the world of technology and innovation. Governments from Tokyo to Brussels are scrambling to grasp the consequences, holding emergency meetings, and consulting with industry leaders. The directive is the culmination of months of confrontational trade policies, pushing allies to choose sides in a conflict that is no longer just about economics, but about global influence and security. Including India, a strategic partner for many Western nations, has added a new layer of complexity, straining diplomatic ties and raising questions about future alliances. For American companies with deep roots in Asia, the order is catastrophic, threatening years of investment and collaboration. Their business models depend on seamless cross-border supply chains, now thrown into chaos as shipments are delayed, rerouted, or canceled altogether. The sudden command to sever these links threatens their very survival in the world's largest and fastest-growing markets, leaving many scrambling for alternatives. Allies must now choose: comply with Washington and risk angering Beijing and New Delhi, or defy the US and face consequences that could reshape their own economies. Nations like Japan, South Korea, and the EU are caught in the middle, with their economies deeply intertwined with all major players, and their industries bracing for impact. The choices made now will not only determine the fate of global trade today, but will reshape the entire trading system for generations to come, setting the stage for a new era of economic rivalry and cooperation. To understand this crisis, we need to look back at the past year's policy shifts. In July 2025, the White House threatened steep tariffs on allies unless they renegotiated trade deals. Major economies like Japan, South Korea, and the EU faced tariffs up to 30%, Brazil even higher. The message: the old rules of trade no longer apply. These threats rattled financial markets and signaled a new era of economic hardball. Simultaneously, the administration unveiled a plan to export American AI technology to allies, aiming to win the global AI race. This carrot-and-stick approach forced partners to choose between economic punishment or deeper alignment with US tech ambitions. The strategy: pull allies into an American-led economic bloc, decoupling from China. The recent export halt is the extreme conclusion of this approach. The world is now facing the fallout. The US export halt isn't a blanket ban, rather it's a calculated move, designed with precision to target specific sectors and industries. It's a targeted strike at China's and India's industrial cores, aiming to disrupt their technological and manufacturing ambitions at the source. Allies like Japan and South Korea are now compelled to halt shipments of advanced semiconductors and high-tech materials to these economic giants, tightening the noose on critical supply lines. These components are the backbone of modern technology, essential for everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to medical devices and renewable energy systems. The order severs critical arteries of global supply chains, disrupting decades of finely tuned production networks that span continents and rely on just-in-time delivery. A single missing part can halt entire assembly lines, leaving American companies stranded, unable to fulfill orders or maintain operations. The impact ripples far beyond manufacturing. Shipping schedules are thrown off, contracts are suddenly at risk, and financial planning becomes a guessing game. Companies face mounting legal challenges and steep financial penalties for breaching long-term agreements, with some firms facing lawsuits or regulatory scrutiny. The intricate web of global trade is being deliberately unraveled, each thread pulled with intention. The goal: to isolate China's and India's industrial capabilities, cutting them off from the world's most advanced technologies and resources. But the collateral damage is immense, hitting American companies and allies hardest as they struggle to adapt to a new and uncertain reality. The policy is like surgery with a sledgehammer, causing chaos for those it aims to protect, and risking long-term harm to the very industries it seeks to defend. The world's supply chains may never look the same. New alliances may form, and old partnerships could dissolve as nations scramble to secure their own interests. The stakes couldn't be higher. The future of global trade hangs in the balance, and every decision now will shape the world for years to come. American corporate giants with deep footprints in Asia are feeling the brunt of the export halt. Apple, Tesla, and GM have invested billions in China and India, not just for manufacturing, but for access to booming consumer markets. Apple's supply chain relies on South Korean and Japanese components assembled in China. The new order threatens to halt iPhone production and devastate sales. Chinese competitors like Huawei and Xiaomi stand to gain as Apple's supply dries up. Tesla's Shanghai Gigafactory, a linchpin for its global EV strategy, depends on Asian suppliers now cut off by the US directive. GM's joint ventures in China face similar disruptions, with local plants deeply integrated into regional supply chains. The order turns these companies' global strengths into liabilities overnight. Their competitive edge, efficient international supply chains, has become their greatest vulnerability. American firms are now scrambling to adapt to a radically changed reality. The fallout could reshape the global tech and auto industries. The reaction from American companies in China is panic. The sudden shift in the business environment has left many feeling blindsided, with little time to prepare for the consequences. The abrupt US order has created extreme uncertainty. Headlines about new export bans and trade restrictions flash across screens, leaving executives scrambling to understand what comes next. Executives are holding emergency meetings, searching for loopholes or alternative suppliers, but for many components, there are no quick fixes. The supply chain disruptions are immediate, and the pressure to adapt is relentless. The fear of Chinese retaliation looms large. Regulatory crackdowns, customs delays, and state-driven consumer boycotts are all on the table. Every day brings new rumors of possible restrictions or investigations. Companies like Starbucks and McDonald's could face devastating backlash. Even the most established American brands are suddenly vulnerable to shifting public sentiment and government pressure. Volatile US policy adds to the anxiety. Recent reversals on chip exports have made long-term planning impossible. Strategies that worked yesterday may be obsolete tomorrow. Firms are left wondering if this is a permanent shift or just another bargaining chip. The lack of clarity makes it nearly impossible to chart a stable path forward. The uncertainty paralyzes investment in future projects. Expansion plans are put on hold and hiring freezes become the new normal as companies wait for answers. American companies are squeezed by their own government's policies and the threat of Chinese punishment. They are caught in the crossfire of a geopolitical standoff, with no clear way out. The risk isn't just lost revenue, it's the collapse of business models built over decades. Years of investment and relationship building are suddenly at risk of unraveling. The foundations of global trade are crumbling beneath them. What once seemed like a stable, interconnected marketplace now feels fragile and unpredictable. Survival in the region is now in question. For many, the future in China is more uncertain than ever before. The panic is real, and the stakes are existential. For US firms in China, the next move could determine whether they adapt, retreat, or disappear entirely. At the heart of this trade conflict is a race for AI supremacy. The US aims to create a Western-led AI ecosystem, exporting its technology to allies and locking China out. The export halt is designed to starve China of key components for AI development, but there's a flaw: trust and compliance. While the US favors voluntary, industry-led AI regulation, the EU has strict, binding rules. This documentation gap puts American firms at a disadvantage. Recently, Spain awarded a major contract to Huawei, not for better tech, but for better compliance. Global partners are wary of unregulated American technology. In a world focused on privacy and security, compliance is as important as innovation. The US focus on deregulation may be backfiring, leaving the door open for competitors. China is exploiting America's compliance gap with a new strategy. Beijing's Global AI Governance Action Plan offers compliance as a service, tailoring AI products to meet local legal requirements. Huawei's win in Spain proved this model works, beating US firms with superior paperwork, not just technology. China is replicating this approach worldwide, embedding its tech in national infrastructure by offering legal integration and long-term partnerships. The US export halt may actually strengthen China, forcing it to become more self-reliant and double down on regulatory diplomacy. While Washington uses coercion, Beijing offers solutions to complex legal challenges. This strategy could build deeper, lasting influence for China. The global balance of power is shifting, not just through tech, but through trust. The US export halt is accelerating the fragmentation of the global economy. The era of open markets and integrated supply chains is under threat. Trade is now a weapon in a new world order defined by economic warfare. Countries like Vietnam and Malaysia are caught between US demands and the pull of China's market, facing impossible choices. Instability is rising, especially for developing nations. Including India in the export halt, undermines years of strategic partnership and sends confusing signals to allies. This could push India toward a more independent or even China-aligned policy. A divided world means higher prices, slower growth, and stifled innovation. Severed economic ties shrink diplomatic channels, raising the risk of conflict. The stakes go far beyond corporate profits. They threaten global stability. As December 2025 begins, the world faces a tense waiting game. Will US allies comply with the directive, or seek a middle ground? Retaliation from China and India is almost certain, but its form remains unknown. American companies must now reconfigure supply chains. An expensive, slow process that will raise consumer prices. The principles of free trade and globalization are under siege. Decisions made in the coming months will shape the world for decades. The future could bring deeper division or a last-minute pullback from the brink. One thing is clear: the era of easy, predictable global trade is over.